Hi, Analisa 6 here with the Sober Curator and the Lady of Leisure to give you the July 2023 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Cancer for Sun and Rising placements. Happy birthday, July Cancers. It's still your season. And happy birthday to Elise, the Sober Curator founder, CEO, editor, woman of all hats. Her birthday's coming up. So happy birthday. It's still your month. We start out July 1st with a bang. We have a cazimi between the sun and Mercury, which is basically a conjunction between the sun and Mercury happening. And we also have Juno kind of in the mix, which is the asteroid that represents marriage and contractual partnership. The sun is our identity, and wherever it's passing through the chart has to do with kind of vitality, bursts of energy, kind of bringing that light of the sun vitality in. And then Mercury is the planet that represents communication and information, dissemination of information, also kind of how we perceive things. And so starting out the month with this cazimi in Cancer, the area of the chart that it's hitting for you has to do with your identity and your sense of self. And so if you've been reflecting a lot on your identity and sense of self and how you are, relating to self, and if there's things that you have been wanting to change about yourself or modify, you've had this energy here for a while. Mercury entered Cancer at the end of June on June 27th, but we've been in Cancer season since the 21st, I believe. Yep. And so we've already kind of had some of this energy highlighted here, and then it's just amplified as we get the month of July started. A couple of things that we also have going on at the start of July is Venus and Mars with Pallas Athena and Lilith in Leo. And the area of the chart that this is hitting for the Cancer horoscope has to do with your finances. Venus is considered to be the lesser benefic. So wherever Venus is passing through is somewhere that we experience blessings in some way. And Venus it rules this area of the chart. And so it's actually pretty positive to have Venus passing through our money house. But one of the things that can make it a little bit rocky is when we have Mars here as well. So there's a kind of like this counter side to Mars that can be positive, where Mars represents activation of energy. There can be kind of like more drive and determination towards something, but Mars also represents conflict, and it's the war planet, and Venus is the peace planet. So we have both of them kind of dancing in this area where you might feel conflict or unrest or unease around finances or material security, but you also might be feeling really determined to go after whatever those financial goals are. And Pallas Athena here also is kind of aiding in that. Venus is going to be here for a long time. She's going to be here until October, but she stations retrograde on the 23rd of July. And so all of the rest of the end of July and then all of August and the beginning of the first few days of September, Venus will be retrograde in this area. And so it's interesting because, while Venus is bringing blessings here, there's also an opportunity for things to happen that we weren't necessarily expecting when it comes to money or financial security. And so it's just one of those things where you might think you have more than you do when there's conflict that arises that makes you have to spend more money than you were hoping to spend. So there's kind of like a dual thing happening, maybe you've got more money coming in, but maybe that means you have more money going out too, so you might just kind of be needing to be resourceful and, more frugal than what you're inclined to want to do. So just be mindful with your money. The other theme with Venus passing through this area has to do with self-worth. And so whenever Venus is here, we're also reflecting on whether or not we feel worthy of the things that we need or the things that we want when it comes to our material security. And obviously that means different things for different people. Some people might feel really guilty about desiring more than they need, and then that can bring up issues around our perspectives on what we feel like we're worthy of for whatever reason. I've had a lot of people in my life that are white and privileged, white and born into privilege, that have a lot of shame and guilt about that. And so they're always kind of feeling like they are in this place of having to counterbalance, their privilege in some way. That can also be a theme of Venus retrograde passing through this area where, you're reflecting on what you feel worthy of. there's also people like me where I was definitely born into a certain amount of privilege, but I also was born, my parents were super young. And so we financially, like, things were hard, when I was young, for sure. I didn't grow up knowing that. I thought that things were a lot better than they were, because I was a very spoiled child, but we were, living very poorly in many ways. I thankfully didn't perceive it that way, but I think that I grew up with this sense of really wanting to make it because I felt like I came from humble beginnings. I felt like I came from things that, like I live in a nicer house now than the one I grew up in. Like, that's, how I kind of feel. So it made me want nicer things, because I grew up without really perceiving things being that nice. Like, I felt like all of my needs were met, but I saw people that had nicer things and I wanted that. And so my self-worth was, can I make that happen? Like, am I worthy to have nicer things? Whereas my friends that were born with into nicer things are always kind of feeling guilty for having nicer things or having access to nicer things. So it's just kind of an interesting thing, right? Because, you've got the people that don't feel guilty about having it all because they worked hard for it. And then you have the people where maybe it was handed to them and then they feel shame about it because other people aren't born into that. And so Venus passing through areas of self-worth, like, what's your relationship to that? How do you create security in yourself around what you have or what you want, and not necessarily feel guilt or shame about what you feel like you are worthy of, in terms of money and stability and whatever that is, whatever that means to you. It's nuanced and different for everybody. But those are themes with the Venus passing through here for Cancer. On July 3rd, we have our full moon in Capricorn that's happening at 11 degrees of Capricorn. And Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer. So you guys balance each other out. Cancer and Capricorn, balance each other out, but then you also are repulsed by each other because it's an opposites, opposites attract kind of thing. Cancer is the cardinal water sign. It's a lot about, it initiates water energy, and water rules our emotions, our intuition, our psychic perception or psychic abilities. And Cancer also rules the area that has to do with home and family and our connection to ancestral lineage. And then Capricorn is a little bit more paternal. It has to do with how we're exerting ourselves out in the physical world, initiating energy in the material world. It rules the house that has to do with how the work that we do out in the world and our goals that we're accomplishing out in the world, and the way that we like to, drive things forward in the material, in the physical. And Capricorn is very goal oriented in that way. It's very success driven in that way. And so when we have a full moon in Capricorn, we might be reflecting on those things, the work that we're doing, our relationship to success, our relationship to our goals. But the area that it's hitting in the chart for the Cancer horoscope actually is the area that has to do with relationships. And so we have partner dynamics. So partner dynamics can be outside of romantic relationships, right? Like, it can be best friends or business partners, but we also have romantic relationships highlighted here too. So this full moon, if there's things about your partnerships that you're thinking or reflecting on that you want to manifest more or less of something into them, that is a big theme. And that is something that you can call in or release energy in whatever way you wish to do that. So if you're, wanting to date more or call in a romantic partner, that's something that you can, focus on trying to manifest. If you're already in a relationship and that's something that you want to work on, you can work on manifesting whatever, if it's more sex, more love, more date nights, things like that. You could set intentions towards wanting to manifest more of that. If you're going through a breakup or you have a relationship ending in some way, this is also a powerful time to, release that energy, do a cord cutting ritual, a burning ritual, those types of things. So it's also a good time to shed and release anything that you are not wanting to bring into, the next chapter. By the 10th, we're going to have a shift of energy where Mercury is going to be leaving Cancer and entering Leo and joining that area with Venus, where she's been, you know, when we've talked about self-worth and finances. And Mercury here, it's a really good time to work on planning and strategizing around money. So if that's something that you need to do, work with a financial advisor or get a budget kind of in place, Mercury passing through this area is really positive for that. And on the same day, Mars is going to be passing into Virgo and entering the area of communication in the Cancer horoscope chart. And the thing that's hard about Mars here is that Mars is a very confrontational energy. It's very aggressive and it's very action oriented. And so when it's passing through the area of communication, there's more of an opportunity for there to be conflict in communication with other people. However, it being domiciled in the sign of Virgo, there is a more analytical and strategical approach to things. There also can be a potential to overthink all of the possibilities of how something could go. And so that can also kind of lead to some anxiety or maybe some neurosis around a situation or a problem, but it's also really effective for problem solving and planning and strategizing. So there's a little bit of that balance, you know, when do you need to back off and not be so assertive and not be so aggressive? When do you need to really lean into that energy and problem solve and strategize and kind of, you know, utilize that to your benefit? And Mars is going to be there for the rest of the month and for most of August too. So we have a lot of that energy happening. Mars is also going to be making a trine to Jupiter in Taurus during that time. And where Taurus is hitting is in community for Cancer. So if you're somebody that's involved in your community or groups of people or in your friendship circles, there's an opportunity to really grow and expand and network during the end of July. Especially networking is really promoted, but also again, there's opportunity for a little bit of tension and conflict since Mars is involved. So again, you got to be a little mindful, especially with Leo season. Like you can come in really hot and heavy and wanting to just like, blah, like here I am, you know, and not everybody can handle some of that intense energy. So, you know, you might have to work on reining it in or toning it down a little bit, but also, you know, we are going to be in Leo season later, and it is a time to be very like gracious and open and compassionate and all of those things. On July 17th, the nodal axis is going to be moving from from Taurus Scorpio into Aries Libra. So the nodal axis has been highlighting that area of community and creative expression. And now it's going to be entering the area for Cancer that has to do with career and home and family. So that's the Aries Libra axis is hitting the area that Cancer and Capricorn traditionally rule. So your career is definitely going to be amplified over the next year and a half with this nodal axis here, and your home life. On the 17th, besides that, like I said, we also have a new moon happening in your sign of Cancer. New moons are all about setting intentions for something that we want to cultivate or grow in life. And this new moon happening in that area of identity and relationship to self, this is a really good time to set intentions towards who you are. Who are you? What's your relationship to self? And how do you want to cultivate more of a strong relationship to your selfhood moving forward throughout the rest of the month? On July 23rd, we're going to move into Leo season. And also on that same day, that's the day Venus is stationing retrograde. And so the sun is entering that area of finances, and then Venus is stationing retrograde in that area of finances. So again, material security, self-worth, and finances are highlighted. I'm not going to say any more than I already did because it's all those same themes, but you know, money, you're going to have to be mindful with when we have Venus retrograde here. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have Mercury entering the Virgo party on the 29th, which is great. I love Mercury in Virgo because Mercury is the ruler of Virgo as well as Gemini. So it'll be in domicile, but we will be kind of on the precipice of our next Mercury retrograde. So get as much in order and structured and planned as you can at the end of July, so that by the time, you know, we are in this more activated retrograde bubble with, you know, we're going to be, so here's kind of what the end of August is looking like. Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde. So we're really in a big retrograde bubble by the end of August. But, you know, it kind of is already started in July, like Saturn's retrograde, Neptune's retrograde, Pluto's retrograde in July, and then Venus stations retrograde at the end of July. So again, reflect and review. That's the affirmation for retrogrades. Things get slowed down. Plans don't always go according to plan. And it's you know, it can be very challenging and frustrating. But I try to believe that, you know, I believe in divine timing to an extent. And I think that retrogrades are also kind of like course correction times, you know, where if I think back to a lot of retrogrades, not all of them, you know, some of them I just feel like were really annoying. I'm like, I just feel like my patience is being tested and I'm just being forced to have to just let go and let things, you know, be crazy. But there's also been periods of time where retrogrades had a deeper impact on me where I'm like, you know, if that hadn't happened and those conflicts hadn't happened, I might not have known that these things. And thanks to those detours and those conflicts, I realized that this was not something that was meant for me or good for me, and I need to course correct or change the path that I'm on. So retrogrades can be really frustrating and challenging, but they're also opportunities for us to, you know, get better at things, fix things, do better in the future. So those are things to kind of keep in mind. All right, Cancer. Well, that's it for you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your birthday month before all of us Leos come and take it over. And I wish you a great summer. And hopefully it's very abundant financially for you having Venus here. And I will see you guys next month. If you liked this video, make sure to hit like, subscribe, leave me a comment if you have any feedback, and I will see you all in August.